Every revolution that's ever happened follows the exact same pattern. Leaders promise freedom. Revolution requires violence. Power corrupts. The new system becomes worse than the old one. Millions die. And then it happens again, somewhere else, 50 years later. Right now, there are 15 active revolutions around the world. Based on history, we can predict exactly how they'll end. And it won't be pretty. The American Revolution promised life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. End British tyranny. Create democratic self-governance. Establish equal representation for all. Between 1775 and 1783, 25,000 to 70,000 people died. 10% of the colonial population. Cities burned. Economies collapsed. Families were destroyed. But the revolutionaries won. They created a new nation. And then they faced a choice. Would they actually create the equality they promised? The Constitution was written. And in that Constitution, slavery was protected. Explicitly. Equality had limits. And those limits had skin color. The Russian Revolution promised a workers' paradise. End Tsarist autocracy. Workers control the means of production. No more class system. Equality for all. Between 1918 and 1922, the Civil War killed 5 to 9 million. But the revolution didn't stop. Lenin died. Stalin took power. And then it got worse. Much worse. Stalin engineered famines. He purged the Communist Party. He created the Gulag system. Between 1918 and 1953, the Soviet Union killed 65 to 100 million of its own people. More deaths than World War II. More deaths than any nation had ever inflicted on itself. The gulags alone killed 18 million. And the worst part? Many victims weren't enemies of the revolution. They were communists. True believers who thought they were building paradise. Stalin executed them anyway. The revolution had created exactly what it promised to destroy, a totalitarian state. The French Revolution promised liberty, equality, fraternity. End aristocratic privilege. Universal rights for all. Democratic government. Between 1789 and 1799, 600,000 to 1.5 million people died. The Reign of Terror alone, 40,000 official executions, likely 300,000 more. Bodies piled in streets. Hyperinflation destroyed the economy. Bread riots. Starvation. But here's where it gets darker. The revolution didn't just kill its enemies. It killed itself. Revolutionary leaders who fought for freedom were executed by the government they created. Robespierre, the architect of the terror, was guillotined by his own movement. The Committee of Public Safety executed 21 of its own members. The revolution had become what it fought against. And it took 70 years for France to establish stable democracy again. The Chinese Revolution promised to end feudalism and imperialism. Land to the peasants. Create a classless society. Reunify a fragmented nation. Mao Zedong promised utopia. Between 1949 and 1976, Mao ruled China for 27 years. The Great Leap Forward began in 1958. Mao promised rapid industrialization and agricultural abundance. He created the worst famine in human history. Between 1958 and 1962, 40 to 55 million people starved. People ate bark. People ate grass. People ate each other. Documented cases of cannibalism. The Cultural Revolution. The Cuban Revolution promised to end Batista's dictatorship. Redistribute wealth to the poor. Create a Caribbean paradise. Free education and healthcare for all. Fidel Castro promised liberation. But Castro ruled for 49 years. Longer than Batista. The revolution promised equality but created a one-party dictatorship. It promised to free people but imprisoned 500,000 political prisoners during the Cold War. LGBTQ+ people were sent to labor camps. The revolution that claimed to liberate the oppressed became an oppressor itself. 2 million Cubans fled. Many died trying to escape their own country's victory. Others spent years in the Mariel boat lift, escaping what they'd fought for. The Cuban Revolution is unique. It never ended. 64 years later, people are still trying to escape. People are still risking their lives on rafts. The revolution promised freedom. It delivered imprisonment. Followed in 1966. An entire generation was destroyed. Children denounced their parents. Teachers were executed. Books were burned. Mao created a personality cult surpassing emperor worship. The Vietnamese fought for independence from France for 20 years. 1955 to 1975. 2 million died in the war. Soldiers and civilians. But they won. Vietnam was unified. Independence was achieved. Ho Chi Minh's dream was realized. And then it happened. 2 million more Vietnamese fled. People escaped the victory. They climbed onto boats. Rickety wooden boats. They sailed into the ocean. 400,000 of them died at sea. They drowned. They starved. They were attacked by pirates. Families were separated. Parents watched children die on rafts. The country that had fought for freedom now forced its people to choose between staying in a repressive state or dying at sea. The revolution had won militarily but lost the people it was supposed to free. The pattern continued. Victory promised liberation. Victory delivered exile. Called the Great Helmsman. The revolution had become a dictatorship more oppressive than the feudalism it promised to end. Every revolution follows the same cycle. It's not coincidence. It's psychology. Step 1. Revolution requires violence. You must eliminate the opposition. Kill the ruling class. Destroy the old system. Step 2. Violence requires justification. Leaders convince followers that killing is necessary. For the greater good. For the future. Step 3. Justification creates paranoia. If we killed for the revolution, others will kill to stop it. Step 4. Paranoia requires purges. We must eliminate potential traitors. Before they eliminate us. Step 5. Purges become genocide. The definition of traitor expands. Expand. Expands until millions are dead. Step 6. New leader claims order. Maintains power through terror. Becomes the tyrant we fought against. This isn't conspiracy. This is human nature. Power corrupts. Fear justifies violence. Violence breeds paranoia. Paranoia breeds more violence. The cycle is automatic. Right now, there are 15 active revolutionary movements around the world. And they're all following the same pattern. The Arab Spring, 2010 to 2012, promised democracy across the Middle East. Tunisia partially succeeded. Egypt's military seized power anyway. Libya became a failed state. Syria became a 13-year civil war. 500,000 dead. The Ukrainian Revolution, 2014-2022, promised EU integration and democracy. Russia invaded. 150,000 plus dead. Still fighting. Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement, 2019 to 2020, promised autonomy and freedom. The national security law crushed it in months. 100,000 plus fled. Myanmar's civil disobedience, 2021 present, resisted military coup. 4,000 plus executions. Resistance ongoing. The pattern is still happening. Violence breeds violence. Promises create paranoia. Paranoia breeds oppression. And modern revolutions are failing faster because surveillance technology is better. Governments can crush movements before they fully form. The cycle hasn't changed. It's just accelerated. Let's do the math. American Revolution promised equality. Achieved it partially. But slavery continued 87 more years. Women couldn't vote for 147 years. Goal achievement, 40%. French Revolution promised equality. Took 70 years to establish stable democracy. Goal achievement, 30%. Russian Revolution promised workers' paradise. Became totalitarian state. Killed more people than enemies. Goal achievement, 0%. Chinese Revolution promised classless society. Created dictatorship. Still authoritarian. Goal achievement, 10%. Cuban Revolution promised liberation. Still a dictatorship 64 years later. Goal achievement, 20%. Vietnamese War promised independence. Achieved it. But 2 million fled after winning. Goal achievement, 50%. The math is clear. Most revolutions achieve less than 50% of stated goals. And they cost hundreds of millions of lives. The human cost versus the benefit doesn't balance. We trade massive death tolls for partial victories. Is that worth it? Here's the uncomfortable truth. We know the pattern. We know how it ends. We know revolutions fail more than they succeed. We know the death toll exceeds any benefit. And yet, right now, there are 15 active revolutionary movements. People are fighting for freedom they may never achieve. They're dying for goals that won't be met. They're sacrificing everything for ideals that will be corrupted. They know the history. They've seen what happened in Russia, China, Cuba. And they're doing it anyway. Because oppression is unbearable. Because hope is stronger than history. Because humans will always choose to fight rather than accept tyranny. The real question isn't whether revolutions work. It's why we keep starting them knowing they'll fail. And that question has no answer.